Welcome to August's episode of the Waste Not Want Not podcast. Well, here we are in the 8th month of the year, 2/3 of the way through the Gregorian year, while also being at the beginning of the Galactic New Year and in the midst of the Lionsgate portal. All powerful energies to bring about shifts in consciousness and perspective to realise the full potential of our true nature. My guest this month is Sara Troy from Canada, and she's created an extraordinary global network founded on a mission to create a supportive environment where all souls thrive. Sara uses the power of storytelling to inspire people with courage and hope to pursue their potential. She's created a web of wisdom that honours the trials and triumphs people have experienced on their quest to discover the distinct rhythm of life that makes them feel alive. Welcome to the podcast, Sara. It's lovely to have you with me.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me.
Well, I just had to with me.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me.
Well, I just had to. I've never heard of you before, and I was listening to a podcast on which you were a guest, and I thought, oh, there's a woman after my own heart. An elder who's doing her thing, supporting people and giving back and encouraging other people. And I just thought, it really mirrored myself because I started my own podcast at 60 and I thought, I've reached the crone age and I want to do something with the wisdom that I've acquired. And at the time, there was so much doom and gloom and I really wanted to inspire some hope out there. So I'm delighted to have you with me because I really feel that we can inspire others to do things. We've been there, done it, got the t-shirt, come through the other side, and we've got an awful lot to offer. So what was it that you wanted to be as a child?
I wanted to be a singer and a performer.
Right.
But I had asthma, so I couldn't do that. But that's what I always wanted to be, because music's so very important to me. And I think that there's so much that storytelling in a song. And I love to dance. But again, my asthma is one that would never allow me to do it professionally.
So what kind of music really lights you up?
It's funny enough, I have a grandson, 2 years old, with Down syndrome. And anytime I play either disco or like African beat, he is a goner. He is boogieing away like crazy. He could be in a bad mood and then that changes everything. And so for me, very much about soul music, beat music, music that really kind of stirs you up. The best music from the 70s, which, I'm from, so...
You can't beat the 70s
music. No, we had soul music back then. Absolutely.
And it had melody as well that you could really dance to. Yeah. And
yes.
I so associate with the African music as well, because I love the djembe drums. I've tried doing that and there's nothing like that to beat. And as you say, all the indigenous cultures always have storytelling around music. Yeah. And it makes it so much easier to remember too.
But music also, whether you're listening to the lyrics or not, the music itself, like if I'm in a down period, just feeling blah, or used to suffer a lot from depression, music, it resets your equilibrium. It literally scientifically is being proven to refrequent you into a right rhythm. And so music can be so utterly healing. And, there's times when you just don't have the words and you don't need the words. The music's got the message.
I totally agree. And sound healing, thank goodness, is coming into its own because ultimately we're energy beings. And so
exactly,
it jiggles all our energetic balls about, doesn't it? And excites.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We're all frequent creatures and it's about turning our volume up to our higher consciousness, but it's never linear or zigzag lines. Everything is rhythmic and in flow and always in dance.
Yeah, as you say. And just before we went on air, we were discussing what star signs we were, and you saying Libra, and your life is about balance. And
yes.
I did a breathwork workshop this past weekend, and we were talking about heart and mind coherence and the importance of that rhythm. And to me, the pineal gland is all linked with the rhythm of life as well, and our sleeping patterns and everything. It's just everything so deliciously interconnected. And the more you go down a rabbit hole and explore, the more you discover. So, okay, so
Yeah.
you discovered that you couldn't, or it wasn't feasible for you to be a performer, singing and dancing. So, what was next on the agenda for you?
Being a sickly child, I didn't finish school, and so I exempted myself at 16. And I worked in the fashion business, I worked in the modeling business, I worked in the restaurant business, I worked in the retail business. I did it all. I was living in South Africa at the time, and so it was all about like exploratory. It's just working. But I realized there was a common denominator,
Yeah.
and a lot of it is that customer service. It's all about what are our needs and how are we addressing them? Who are we really? Are we representing ourselves truly to who we are? And I found later in hindsight, when you look at it and you go, everything that's prepared me to doing what I'm doing today has come from all the things that I immersed myself in yesterday.
Yeah, I can so associate that, because the nature of my own work is helping people connect those dots together to see
Yes,
back in hindsight and what has served them. And even if it hasn't served them, there's a lesson in that.
totally.
Mm.
Yeah, I believe I came here thousands of years ago to ignite the heart and souls of humans. And whatever I've done, I've ignited something. Whether it's bringing out someone's soul and spirit and their meaningful purpose, or whether it's holding them accountable for their actions, it's all about that. And I'm very, very much about soul, heart, spirit based. A lot of people dress just heart and mind. And I think you're missing an enormous phenomenon if you're not addressing the soul wisdom.
And that puts an awful lot of people off, because until recently, thank goodness it's changed. Because I mean, I can speak for myself. I went to a convent because no other school would accept me. And the nuns were anything but Christian like,
Oh
kindly,
God, yes. Oh,
and so cold. And it was such a contradiction in terms. And so the word God really made me balk.
yes.
And it was very much of an indoctrination thing. But as the years have gone on, with my background in psychology and then diving into quantum physics, it's
Hmm.
you got an observer look at things, and my God now is a guide of direction, and it's all to do with
Yes.
energy.
Yes. Yes.
And I believe that our spirit is part of the great cosmic intelligence, and the
Hmm.
soul is a fractal of that, and it's through the senses communicating to us, which the heart picks up as a message and then tells the body, informs the body. But it is that soul that really lights us up. And like you said at the beginning, the music and the dance really light
Hmm.
you up. And it's not surprising, because that was one of your first experiences.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
fascinating.
call it the knowingness,
Yeah.
right? The wisdom from the universe, whether you call it God, universe, spirit, energy, intelligence, whatever you wish to call it. The soul is that channel. It opens up and that information comes down that resonates. It resonates with the heart in truth. It then gives it to the spirit in action for the mind to know what it needs to know in clarity at the moment it needs to know it. So
Yeah.
I call that the knowingness. I cannot do anything without feeling my knowledge. If I think my knowledge, I get confused. If I feel my knowledge, I know it's absolute.
So it's about embodying. So did you have an experience that helped you know that for yourself?
It's something I realized later in life that I've always done.
Yes.
I didn't awaken to spirit. I was born that way.
Yeah.
And so I played with dead people and nobody, just thought I was loony. Um, but I could feel those energies. I could communicate with spirits. I could do all of these things. And it was something that, yes, you're always worrying about the white coats coming to take you away, or people would mock you, but at the same time come to you for wisdom. And so I've been like that my entire life, but I didn't know kind of the definition or the encompassing of it until later in life, until I've been through all the experiences. And then realize that is what it is that I do. And it's only when, as a youngster, I lived in the knowingness. And everybody thought she's living in her own little world, right? No, but I was in tuned, I was downloading, I was multidimensionaling and all of that. And then as a young adult, all these expectations put on you. You should, you must, you have to, you don't count unless you do. And then me trying to live that human expectation, which was like kryptonite for me. And for a while there, my kind of soul wisdom took a back seat because I was trying to fit in.
Yeah.
And then, the old cosmic 2x4 came along. Wackaroo, are you hearing me now? This is who you are, where you are, and what you are meant to do. You must step back into this rhythm. And then when I did, it just became, thank you, I'm home.
So what was that cosmic 2x4?
A divorce.
Right.
Was one of them. A willingness to explore again and open up those channels, because I had been for about 8 years kind of in the dark, seeing the light, too scared to come out. And eventually I came out, and the light was too bright. I felt I was being chased by shadows, until I realized they're not chasing me, they're contouring me, they're giving shape to the light. And now I love going in the dark, for I am the light and I see what it is I'm meant to see. So it's no longer intimidating. But it was just that journeying of self-discovery after the divorce.
Yeah. I heard you say earlier that you suffered a bout of depression. Did I hear right? Yeah.
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 What age was that, and how did that inform you?
Oh, that has been something that's kind of always been with me. I'm an empath, so waves of sadness of how humans treat each other on this poor planet, it would come. I didn't know younger. That's what it was. I have to be very careful. Sometimes the energies I'm around, because I'm a huge advocate for common sense and sensibility and kindness and caring. Sometimes it's like, so I have to be careful. But also because of my physical problem, fibromyalgia, asthma, depression is a part of it. So it's chemical. And so I found that music was the thing to help me that was non-medical. And I haven't taken any medication for it for a long, long time, because when I feel that rabbit opening up, I go into what I need to do. Whatever you've got on your plate, you close it, you go and listen to music, you just dive down that moment and just be.
Because the body will give you the chemicals you need and help recalibrate
Yes.
things, won't it?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just love the ecosystem that you have created with your work. And so how did you get into podcasting to begin with?
Back in 2012, I had invested from 2006 to 12 in a quantum electric motor. And then we got caught in the crash in 2008. Then we had people interested in it because we proved the concept. We proved it worked. And then people stole it from us, and I landed up in my car, and it was completely a reset. And I also do personality trait alignment and understanding of our human trait. It helps us actually understand our soul message. But at that time, it was like, I didn't want to go back to it. I was at a loss. And then I wrote a piece on depression. Somebody saw my site and said, oh, I'd love you to be a contributor on my podcast network. And I go, what's a podcast? Back in 2012, I didn't know. And it was live. I didn't have the money for it. Somebody put up the first month. I don't even know how I paid after that, because I hardly could pay my rent. But I did it. For 13 months, and it was a great training ground. And then I decided I wanted to do my own. There weren't many platforms to base on at that time, so everything was kind of like Braille, like working it out as you go. But now I've done it for over 13 years, over 12 years now with my own network. Personally on this network, I've done 3,000 shows. And it's branched out into podcast, books, and into mentorship directory, and into other platforms as well.
Wow, that's just fascinating. So did you have help in setting up the podcast?
Initially, my friend set up the template.
Right.
And he set it up on SoundCloud, because there really were not many of these other platforms around at the time. And so I just continued to do that. And then as things came up, added. For the first 5.5 years, I only did audio. Then I went to video. And so now I do 14 audio platforms, 3 video platforms, blog. And I've just kind of formed a system there now. I generally give more than what most people do, because I give a show blog with all the information on it. But there's always, oh, the latest and the greatest and the best and then this and that. And it's like, I do what I hone in on undo. And for me, it's about all those that listen to it, it's listen, learn, and apply. And it's there for people when they're ready to listen, when they're ready to learn, when they're ready to apply. Once it's out there, we have no control of how people listen, who, what, where, or anything. All it is putting it out there.
Absolutely. And I just love the way that it's organically grown as well. So what was it that inspired you, having been a guest and for 13 months, to actually do your...
No, I wasn't a guest, I was a host.
You are, okay.
But on a different network. It was hearing the stories. Interviewing the people and hearing the stories and realizing that in a world full of turmoil and trauma and hate and discourse, there were so many people that had embraced self-love and love and meaningful purpose because of their journey, no matter what had happened to them. And I found it so inspiring and so uplifting. And I felt that it was my purpose to make sure I brought those stories out into the open.
Wow. Wow, fantastic. So how do you find your guests?
I don't need to anymore. They come to me after all these years. I have publicists I work with, and they know the kind of people I like to interview. I have people that refer. I have people that come back. I do belong to a couple of network groups, mostly to get out and about. And so I get to interview most of that crowd as well. But most of the time, it is people coming to me because, I've been around a while.
And everybody's got a story. One of the things that I found is that people, think that they're alone in there. And then when they hear stories from other people, that's the reason, one of the reasons I did. There could be a little something in them that sparks some hope for themselves. They recognize something for themselves. But also that it's, what am I trying to say here? That those stories are a part of who we are, but I also feel that it's in our role, it's helping people see that they don't need to define themselves by their stories, that they are
right,
and what they've learned from it. So what you were saying, how it inspired you to create your own, how they've used it to move on and really expand themselves and their potential, because ultimately that is what you're about, isn't it? Encouraging people to reach their potential.
Exactly. And you never know what comes from. I mean, this week I have the wonderful Christine Olsen on for the second time, and she started a program called the TIFF Initiative. And her daughter was killed in an accident, and she didn't find out until like 14 hours later. Nobody could give her any information. And when the cop just said, oh yeah, she's dead. Do you know where she is? No, I don't know. I guess she's with the coroner. And from that, she started this initiative of adding contacts on your drivers or your ID. So that anytime a cop or responder comes along, they can see who to reach out to let them know, or is there any information that's needed? And, she's 19 years in this. So out of a tragedy came something that's saving other people's lives. And that is a legacy that carries on giving. So, there's always that argument, is everything for a reason? I go, yes, whether it's clear or not. At the time, hindsight will give you what that reason is. And sometimes it's purely a lesson and to move on. And many times it is that redirect to go down your path of meaningful purpose and calling, and be a solution or a haven or wisdom for other people.
And also, have you found that, because you talked earlier about purpose and things, and I think there is too much emphasis on people seeking their purpose when it could be just being, I say just, because it's one of the most important roles in life, a parent, at home parent. And
absolutely. And different chapters at time, right? I was a parent of 3 children, and while I parented my children, that's what I was, mother, right? Yeah. And then they grew up, spread their wings, I got a divorce, and then it was my self-discovery. Who is Sara now? Yes. What am I here to do now? And I'm always a person that I need to be of service. We're all here to contribute. We're all here to be of service to one another. What is my service now? And I think, some people get the nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Some people get the cosmic 2x4. And some people, it's just a new chapter in your book of life, but it's unwritten yet. And that means you need to explore what those options are.
And as you said, it's hard to explore because I feel the culture of the world has created a codependency. And so when we don't know how to trust ourselves and use our own intuition, and it's the courage to do it because we
Yes. Yes. Take that first leap is the first step. And that courage to be blind, deaf, and dumb in order to hear, see, and feel. Right. And it's that I don't know what I don't know, but I'm going to move forward and learn as I go. Right. And that's the thing, is that willingness. And like a lot of people, well, I'm afraid. And I go, take common sense fear. That fear, don't put your hand in the fire, don't walk in front of a bus, don't walk down a dark alley at 3 o'clock in the morning. There's things that are sensible fear, but don't look at the unknown as fearful. Take your common sense fear with you and open it up as wonderment, exploration. We are designed to be explorers. And we need to explore our own lives, our own meaningful purpose. What are we here for? What are we here to learn? What are we here to share? And we don't know that unless we're willing to take that path forward.
There's two things there. One of them is that what are we willing to explore? But it's actually because we've been taught it's selfish to follow what lights us up, particularly as women. And I don't mean to be sexist in that, but it's just the way it is.
Yes.
Women put everybody else first. And so it's really hard to include things that light you up in life before you tend to everybody else's needs as well.
With the old oxygen on the mask, right? And as I said, there's different chapters, different stages in your life, and you might be the nurturer and the caregiver for a while. And then what else can you do? And like in the case of my daughter who's expecting her third son, she's working as well as raising children. And, it's that balance between. I worked a few times here and there, but most of the time it ended up with me being the home mum and the neighborhood mum.
Yeah.
Right. And for me, that was a very important role. That was a job. I didn't get paid for it. I didn't get any gratitude or acknowledgement of it until they have their own. Right? But during it, I realized how important it was. And I think it's, as I say, whether it's the janitor or the CEO, you walk into a building to see the CEO, but the place is dirty and tardy, it immediately changes your approach of the CEO. So the janitor has set the stage. Everybody has a role to play, and everyone should be proud of that role, no matter what it is. But we've placed so much emphasis on, you've got to be the top echelon. You've got to be the big billionaire. You've got to be this, you've got to be that to be important. No, because I find them the most insecure people, right?
Yes.
The importance are the people who provide for us on the ground level, on the soil level, on the seed level. And if we don't appreciate what everybody's contribution is, if we don't look at everybody as being a very, very important equation in this journey of life, then we're missing the point.
Yeah, and as you said at the beginning, it's all the expectations. And it's like, well, if you do X, Y, and Z, then you will be acceptable. You will become someone. But we're born someone.
Yes, yes.
I give you a seed and it's like, well, but you have no idea of that potential within the seed, do you? And also what you were saying about the exploring, we're so programmed to think worst case scenario.
Yeah.
And it's important to look at, as you say, to take that common sense thing, protect yourself in the way that you can, and think best case scenario and bigger.
What could go right?
Exactly.
Again, common sense fear will register what's going wrong. But if you go into something, what could go wrong, you'll never understand what is going right because you're so focused on that. What you seed and water and nurture will be growing. And so if you're going to grow doubt, if you're going to grow insecurity, if you're going to grow fear, if you're going to grow, it'll never work, it won't. You'll get weeds, right? And they're very proliferate. So you want to grow something great, like I really value this seed. I don't know how it's going to grow, how far, big, or whatever, but It's the core of your belief, the core of your purpose, or the core of a passion or a desire. Plant it, nurture it, water it, allow it to grow at its own level. As long as you're looking after it, it will grow as big and as fast as it is meant to. And when it's in full bloom, it's not then ready for picking. It's like, no, what are you meant to do with it? Because you've got to keep reseeding to make sure that it keeps growing. So it's being aware of that, but, change your verbiage of what you speak to yourself, right? Change your verbiage of what you speak to others, because we're an algorithm too. And we're going to attract, if you're a naysayer, you're going to attract naysayers. And then all of a sudden you're on a bitch fest, right? So, and we know there's plenty out there to bitch about, but where is the solution? And if we get so caught up in the problem, we can't see the solution. We've always got to have that door open, that there is always a way out. There is always a solution.
Absolutely. Your analogy with the seed and things, because it's all about the internal and external environment.
Yes.
One feeds the other. And if you've got a plant and it's in the wrong environment, it's not going to flourish.
No.
And it's the same with us as well. We may have been in one. It's like, well, where do I need to move to that is going to light me up? What do I need to do? Who do I need to have around me? And that helps you explore more, gives you more courage, doesn't it?
I was given a plant once, and when the guy gave it to me, it was virtually dead and all dried up and everything. And I went, why are you giving me this plant? I bought some furniture from him and he threw this plant in. I had that plant 26 years.
Wow.
Just watering it. Nothing else, just watering it. And it flourished and flourished and flourished until I gave it to my son because I was moving and it died. But he forgot to water it. But the whole point of it is I'm the eagle, the way I see things, but I'm very much the phoenix. And it's that out of death can come life. And it's all of a question of how do we water and nurture it? Do not perceive something is the end and the end of all. What life is to come from this death. I'm always a believer in it ain't over until it's over. And even for when we go, this is just a vessel we're using, right? Yeah. And my essence and everything I've learned here and everything that I am will go back home into the ether. And whether I'm meant to come back again and experience again, hopefully not to experience all the trauma and misery I've had in past lives, but maybe to come back as that teacher. But we never lose that wisdom. It's just how is it reshared from lifetime to lifetime.
And I think a huge acknowledgement of it in the learning that we pass it on.
Yes.
But recognize that we're shining that light to our children, which brings me on to the extraordinary work that you're doing with youth and seniors. And that's what really sparked me when I heard your interview was, to me, the youth are dismissed because they don't know much. We know more.
Right.
Theory. And the elders are on the scrap heap because they're no longer useful. And it's so important because...
guess my goat.
Tell us about the projects that you're working on at the moment.
Well, this book I put out last year, Our Forgotten Children. It's an anthology, 15 people contributing, and it's all around the raising of our children in the systems today and what we're doing wrong, how we're not paying attention. Each one, and I have 19 different genres on my podcast network, and one of them is raising our gifted children. And this is under the Our Forgotten Children platform. And it's all about looking at our children when they're born as a gift, recognizing the gift they are, the aptitudes they have, the understanding they have, and watering and nurturing it like you would do the plant, right? And see where it goes. What we are doing with our children is making them conform. And suppressing and limiting. And then later on, they break free or they become completely disillusioned. And I feel that very, very much that in our society today, with people that are so disconnected from themselves, disconnected from meaning, disconnected from source, living this expectation, chasing this rainbow or tinsel in the sky, not knowing how to live from the inside out, is coming from the way we have brought them up, and it needs to change. The next book, which I am gathering authors for now, is Our Forgotten Seniors, where we will celebrate the contribution of the seniors and all that they have shared and done through their lives, talk about the challenges of being a senior today, especially in certain societies where you are put out to pasture and dismissed, but also the warning to the young. Be prepared for your seniorship now, because it creeps up very quickly. And if you're not prepared, you may not be able to afford to be a senior. And to realize, just like the janitor and the CEO, do not throw wisdom away.
As a senior, how would you inform your younger self?
Well, in my 7 decades, I've certainly gone up and down the roller coaster. And I would actually say you were born with a gift, and the gift should have been nurtured and not dismissed, not labeled.
Yes.
And never be afraid to be who you are. You are flawsome. And as the Japanese take a ball and put it back together with gold and make it more valuable, I'm saying take all the pieces, your shattered pieces through your life, put it back together with self-love. And in that self-love, fill it with love and let it runneth over. Be yourself. Take your discovery to who you are from the inside out. What is your gift to share? What are your aptitudes? What is it that you need to flourish? And stop apologizing for what you're not, because it's not who you're meant to be anyway.
Yes, and that's a really big point, isn't it? The fact that we think we need to be everything. And again, like when we find a partner, we think that partner needs to fill every role. And everybody.
Complete me. No, compliment you, not complete you.
And the other thing for me with children, it's like I am a better person because of my children. They taught me so much. And
Yes.
as you say, it gives me chills. They are gifts. Boys are particularly good because they're in your face and say it like it is. Teenage girls are exactly the same. But as you say, it's when they have their own children, they reckon, oh, maybe you weren't talking quite so much shit as I thought you were.
Yes. I've got, as I said, 2.5 grandchildren, and a 4-year-old and the 2-year-old with the Down syndrome, and one due in October. And the 4-year-old, like he said to me the other day, Nana, I love you even after you've gone. Right. And it's just like so beautiful and so profound. We go on little adventures with our stuffies. Where are we going to go today? To the moon, to China, to the other world. We talk about death not being the end because death has been around him. We talk about even dementia. We talk about all sorts of things on the level that he can understand. But, you know, it's being a grandmother is absolutely awesome because I'm not responsible for them 24/7. My daughter said to me, how did you do it? And I said, I honestly can't tell you because you're so busy in the day to day, you forget. It's those moments of this, that, etc. that stand out, but not the day to day. You're just almost robotically going through, which she kind of is now. I get to devour these children. I have them 2 days a week and sometimes over the weekend a bit. And each one of them are different. My 4-year-old is absolutely obsessed with cars and vehicles and crashes. And I'm George, the policeman, who's fed up with everybody crashing. And then the 2-year-old is a snuggler. He's now walking and climbing and exploring everything, but you put music onto him and he's a different kid. He's crying for something and you sing to him, he stops immediately. And he's just such a beautiful soul and so happy. And then, of course, we've got the new one coming. So as a mother, I experienced that and the joy of being a mother, but being a grandmother is a totally different experience, which I am loving. And I had to wait until 66 to become a grandmother. I'm going to be 71 with this next one. I can't get on the ground and do this and that like I used to, but they work around me and that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm the same. I've got 13, 9, 7, 5 and 4-year-old grandchildren. And then, as you say, they're each delicious in their own way. But I love that you were talking about death. How did that come up? You say your grandson had death around him.
Well, the cat died, and then there was hearing of somebody else dying, and just kind of brought into the conversation. He asked me once when he was 3 at the time, will you live forever? Or he said to me, you're old, Grandma. Will you die? And I said, yes, I will. But I said, this body will die. But I said, my heart, my spirit is inside of you. I will never leave you. I'll carry on living with you always. I'll always be there for you. You just have to call my name. You will feel me. And it's like, oh, okay. Right. So it's not the end. And
And
so
yet,
it's introducing it to them young so that it becomes natural.
I was going to say, there's no question about what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas an adult mind, they try and
To
logistics.
protect the child. God, the children are so much more resilient and capable. And we've become what they call helicopter parents. And yes, look, come on. You and I used to go and play out in the mud and come home for dinner, right? I remember being 6 years old with my pram, just walking around the entire neighborhood and never anybody having to worry about anything.
Yeah.
Nowadays, if we don't see our kid in the yard, we panic because that's kind of the world we've come into, right? So we've become so distrusting because there's so many more weirdos out there than there used to be, which is so sad because we're robbing our childhood of exploration and a dreaming and imagination that is what they're meant to live in. But we can keep it alive in other ways within those parameters. And I think being honest with your kids, having an honest conversation, no matter what the age, but obviously speaking at their level of comprehension, but no hiding of this or that. Is like when my husband and I would fight, it ended up our son being our mediator. And he was 14 or 15 at the time because unfortunately I was married to an insecure narcissist who would never take ownership of what he said. And even if they filmed him, no, that's not me. That's not me. And so they're actually the ones that told me to divorce. Right. So, Mum, it's time for you to divorce. And I'm waiting for her to leave school. No, you're not. We'll manage. Right. It's time. And at the same time, we don't place burden on them more than they carry. We don't want to put something on them that they're carrying the shoulders. And unfortunately, that did happen a little bit. I should have left years ago, and I always thought I was protecting the kids, and instead it was having a ripple effect. But at the same time, I think as if we don't honor their own intelligence at whatever level they're at and allow them to feel, allow them to question, allow them to even go through their own experience of what is happening, we're denying their emotional growth. And I think so many people have trauma today and anxiety and depression because they do not know how to deal with their emotions. And instead of acknowledging their emotions, spending their emotions, they're becoming emotional over their emotions because they don't know how to deal with them.
Absolutely. And as you say, they're so much more intuitive than we give them.
Yes, yes.
My own son said, I think he was about 11 when it happened. He said, I knew at 7 and you deserve so much better yourself. And again, that gave me the courage because I was hanging on so that I was there for the children, but I wasn't really there.
No.
I was a better person as a separate thing. And I also taught a boy with autism throughout primary school at 6 years. And because he had that label, expectation of him, he was so much more capable than people gave him credit for.
I've interviewed so many people with autism or parents of autism that were told, oh, go and put them in an institution and go and have another. And they were going, no, this is my child. And they were literally navigating in the dark because nobody was there to guide them. And they've become the guiders now. They've become the liberators now. And I've interviewed so many people, and I think there's a lot to learn from them. And not all of them, obviously, because sometimes it's autism and they have other things, OCD or this or that. It all depends what the layer is out. But for the general, they're very selective on who's around them. Check, we should be too. They're generally very creative and feed that creativity. We should be too. They're not afraid to explore and see where it goes. We should be too. And they're very selective on the energy that they're around in the arena that they're around in order to protect themselves. We should be too. There's a lot to be learned from them because we're so busy chasing the mass, the more, and they live in a world of more intimacy and selectiveness. And so they can live on that parameter and be who they're meant to be without getting frazzled. Doesn't not to say they don't have frazzled moments, but they know what system works for them. And I think if you're chasing the likes and you're chasing the popularity and you're chasing the money and you're chasing the title and the label, you are living an outside life, not an inside life. And for all those that have taken the journey to the inside life, all of them say, I'm more selective. I have fewer friends. I love being on my own and being with myself. right? And I am so much happier than I was when I was in this big, vast arena chasing something.
And I also find, from a parent's perspective with an autistic child, the societal pressures, the aspiration, what my child isn't, as opposed
Yes.
to accepting. And also, I found that these labels, another one is neurodivergent.
Mm-hmm.
It's that we are saying that they are less than because they don't meet a mark for the norm,
Right.
but they're actually an infinitely more sensitive than we are, which speaks to the points that you're saying about the selective people that they have around. And we don't understand. So we're still trying to cram them full of all this stuff. And they say, I can't cope with this. This is over.
No. Yeah, I'll absorb what I need to absorb as I absorb it. Right. The one book behind here where you see the word selfish, it says, I'm not selfish, I'm just not easily manipulated. And I contributed a chapter to that book. And my chapter, I always allow it to be what it wants it to be. And what it was this whole thing of academia and
Yeah.
being valued in academia. And I wasn't. I found out I was dyslexic at 21. I found out that I have ADD in my 60s. Right. And I've always had learning disability. And yet I managed to do things in life because I was willing to learn, quote, on the job or through the experience and explore. And is my grammar great? No. We have ChatGPT, we have correction, right, etc. Even writing by hand. When I first got a computer, I started blogging and creating articles. Finally, I could have a voice, but I couldn't do it writing by hand because words would be mixed up and I couldn't even read my own writing. So I was always judged on, you're not academic, you haven't got the A's or the B's, you didn't finish school. So labeled as a failure because I wasn't that. And it's like, well, what is success? And for me, success is when you're living in your space of productivity, your space of contribution, your space of service with a heart full, right? And an ability to change someone's life or help someone's life or make things better. I find that's where the enrichment and the abundance is. And it's got nothing to do with the academia. Some people are extremely academic and they can do it wonderful. If you're working on my brain, I want you to be a brain surgeon and not wing it. But I do believe there is a dual thing there of trust your instincts. Don't cut there, because your instincts say don't. So, but I live purely on my instincts. So I know about labels. I've had them through my life and done everything I can to get rid of them. As Popeye says, I am what I am.
You come across Sir Ken Robinson?
No.
Oh, I'll send you a link to his video because he did a TED talk. It must be close to 20 years ago now, how school kills creativity.
Yes.
He was a great advocate for living in your element and individual education programs. He was born in the same town as the Beatles.
Right.
And he's got the most amazing dry sense of humor. And he speaks to this point, how important it is, and labels and success and all the rest of it, and how dismissive that we are. I failed everything at school. I got U for useless, as I termed it, most subjects. But my mum always said common sense will prevail.
Thank you. Thank you. Trust your instincts. Where's the common sense? Which, gosh, seem to have left town right now in the world. But yes, need to bring it back. One of the genres I have is For the Love of Music, where I interview musicians. And I've interviewed musicians from the Planters and various other groups that go back 60 years and 50 years, and they're still working, right? And it's about their longevity. How do they do it? Well, one of the things I love about musicians, they're already in their heart and soul. They're already in their purpose. Right? The music is in them. They are the music. They have to express the music. And there's just so much, divine energy in them. And then we're just sharing their story of challenges, etc. And one of them, Joel Coleman, I said to him, what technology has come along that's been an obstacle for? And he said, disco. Where people used to hire a band, now they could hire a disco DJ for dirt cheap. And he said that killed their business. And I said, well, what did you do? He said, I went overseas. Overseas, they still loved the live performances. And while disco was having its thing, I went over there and was revered over there and then came back when people wanted bands again. So, is that instinct, don't get stuck because a door's closed, just open a window, open another door, pivot.
We've just celebrated the 40th anniversary since Live Aid.
Yes, I know. Amazing. And
I
look how
was
impactful
there.
that was. You were there. Wonderful.
I was there in Wembley. Oh my gosh. And as you say, a lot of the artists there, people still know them.
Exactly.
Because they live their life through their music. And whereas there have been artists since who are very egoic based,
Oh, yeah.
the longevity, if your heart is in what you're doing,
Yes.
will continue whatever.
And how many good musicians today will look back on people that influenced in the past, and look at Lady Gaga with Tony Bennett.
Yes.
Doing duets and everything with it. It's respect for those that paved the path, a reverement for their artistry, and that collaboration or that influence that has passed on.
Yeah. Absolutely fascinating. So you've got the podcast, and did you say you have 19 different
genres?
Yes. Wow, that's amazing. Fascinating.
Yeah, excuse me, I'm just going to have to puff. Yeah. That's the one barrier of podcasting. Actually, a quick story. I was once interviewing a woman of 15 kids, America's Superman, 13 she birthed herself. And in the middle of an interview, I have an asthma attack. Sometimes it's just taking the wind in the wrong path, right? And I had never seen myself have an asthma attack. And here I am on camera, and I didn't realize how everything contorts because you can't breathe. So your hands tighten, your face contorts and all of that. And I'd never seen that before. It scared me to bejesus completely. And she's just, it's okay, dear. Take your time, dear. It's all right, dear. I'm here for you. And it's like, thank God it was her. Of course, I cut that out because nobody wants to see that. Now I actually understand why people freaked out when they saw me have an asthma attack, because I looked scary, right? But you never know when it comes up. And one of the things that I do in my podcast is own it. Own it when it happens. It's like I can cut certain things out, but you're always going to see the slice. And even if I've done that, it's like, trying to own it. We've had a drop funk. The internet's not with us today, or such and such has happened. We're back. Now you're just making light of it. And I think this whole thing, oh no, we've got to take an hour thing and condense it down. No. Which wisdom are you going to cut out and why?
Yes. Right? I'm exactly the same. Yes, absolutely. Totally agree with you. Because that's why I love the fluidity of having like an armchair style conversation, because you never know what wisdom is going to transpire. Going back to your podcast, what was it that inspired you? Were you just having so many juicy subjects that you
Yeah, it was like, gosh, this really should have a genre of its own. And so I started off with positive living vibrations, then it came Choose Positive Living, and then Their Story Matters, and then For the Love of Music, and then business, and then mental health. Your health is your choice, and children and animals and veterans and this and that. So if you cruise my site, then I'm looking for something in particular, then you're going to look under that genre. And there may be 500, 300, 400 per ones. A couple of them now have been over the 500, so they've had to double up and go into another section. But yeah, it was just the need to break it up in a way that wasn't just 3,000 scrolls, which you're going to get on the audio platforms, right? Except for SoundCloud, they break it up into playlists as well as YouTube. But it's just making it easy for you to look for a particular topic that, would interest you.
And the ecosystem I was talking about with your business. So you've got the podcast, and you've also got the directories, the Orchard
Mentors Directory. Yes. So basically that is people mostly in business coaching, have a program, have a system, have something for practitioners. So they've done a why show with me, which I look forward to you coming on and sharing your why show with me. But now they want to do a business show. So what it is the Mentors Practitioners Directory on the orchardofwisdom.org. You can listen to the why show. Why are they doing what they're doing? What took them on this path, why it's so important to them. But then the mentors show up there, but then talks about what it is they're offering, how they're offering, and who it benefits. So just for people who are looking for coaches or looking for people in certain areas, the mentors directory kind of hones that in a little bit more, where you're not searching on the podcast for something like that.
And it also gives people, because it's all about that connection and relationship. ultimately at the end of the day. So
Yes.
again, that's why I offer an exploratory call, is because and do the podcast, people can see me for who I am. And for some people, I'm too much, I'm too grounded, I'm too base, and
Yeah,
it's fine. I'm not your person. And
exactly.
I wish you all the best in finding the person that resonates with you, because we all need that
Yes,
to.
it's about resonate. It's about that relatability. Is that person, I hear you, I feel you're talking to me. I feel a connection,
Yeah.
right? And I always say that, these shows are inspiration begets invitation. So when you're inspired by what someone has said, it's an invitation to want to follow through, or an invitation to get up and do. Right. So, no, there is no one size fits all. As I say, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but I'm somebody's strong cup of black coffee. And that's okay, because we're not meant to be here to be everyone's cup of tea. Do you resonate? Do you hear what I have to say? Does it have an impact? Then I'm here.
Yeah. And I love the way that you talk about an invitation. And at the beginning of the interview, you were talking about how things organically grow, and whoever needs it will find it. It's like when
Yes.
the student's ready, the master will appear. And so
Yes.
again, it's about that organic approach,
Yeah.
because there's a lot out there. Do it this way, do it that way, do it the other way. And there's a lot of pressure if you're not. And then that's where comparisonitis comes in. I'm not
Yes.
succeeding in this. And when we get to our age, I've just put it in the fuck it bucket. It will be what it is.
Love it. Love it. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, and we don't have to get to that age to have that attitude. And the two C's I hate: compare and compete. Leave
Yeah.
competition to competitions. Do not compete with others, and do not compare. You are unique. You can be inspired by someone. You can love what they're doing and you would like to emulate it, but it must be yours. It must be from you. And it cannot be try to be a carbon copy of someone else. They're taken. Right?
Yeah.
You need to be you. So stop competing and comparing or chasing.
Well, that leads me on to, is there a book or a person that has influenced you? And
Oh, there's many people that have influenced me. You can't do this for as long as I've done it, 13 years, without it being therapy for me, without being influenced by so many people I've interviewed. So there's never any kind of one person. But I'm going to give a simple book, other than I've Forgotten Children, folks. Don't forget, I've Forgotten Children. You can find it on the orchardofwisdom.org. But other than that, there was a very simple book that really does make sense. And it's Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer Johnson. I've actually
I've
got it
heard of
right
that
here.
one. Yeah.
And actually, they did a parody of it, Who Cut My Cheese. But this is Who Moved My Cheese by Spencer Johnson. And he's done lots of other stuff. But I'm a true colors coach, the 4 key personality traits. And when I read this book about 2 men and 2 mice around abundance of cheese, and one day the cheese is gone, and the reaction from each one of them, it just completely set bells off, along with the true colors of how we are identifying with how we deal with change. And I felt it was absolutely brilliant, and I've recommended it through the years because I think it's good. But the Who Cut My Cheese parody is actually funny as well. The Who Moved My Cheese has actually come out in a beautiful children's book as well, for changes that happen to help children with changes. So other than many other books, I would say actually Northern Lights, The Golden Compass, Philip Pullman's trilogy. They did a brilliant TV adaptation of that called Dark Materials. And it's brilliant. I love it because it's so utterly dimensional, and it addresses so much of the metaphorical, sheds light on reality, and very often makes sense of reality. When you look at reality, it doesn't. So that book had a huge profoundness on me as well. And my brother's books. My brother is an author. I love reading his books. And there was one that he did, The Repercussions of Thomas D. And it's a young teenager talking to his girlfriend on the phone, and he walks through a time warp, and he ends up in the war, 1944, and ends up exposing the phone and all history to a spy, and changes the course of history altogether. In other words, the Germans win. So a lot of stuff that has a double entendre, a double meaning, and a reflection of what life could be or is. I love those type of books.
What's your brother's name?
Sam Hawksmoor.
I'll put all the links to everything that we've mentioned throughout at the bottom of the show notes as well. Again, it's really hard, but is there a quote that reflects who you are?
I've kind of said them. I say, when you're aware, you care. When you care, you do something about it. Allow, step into allowing and follow the path that is before you. It will reveal. Listen, learn, and apply, but also take the leap, blind, deaf, and dumb, in order to see, hear, and feel,
Mm,
because that is leaping in faith. And what you need to see, to hear, and to feel will be revealed. Get out of your head and trust your heart and soul. It will never lie to you. It will always lead you down the right path, even if it's a rocky one. It's for a reason. Feel your knowledge, don't just think it.
absolutely. My favorite one is to be yourself in the world that is trying to make you somebody else is the greatest accomplishment. That's
Yes,
volumes.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Amen, sister. Yeah.
I think you answered this earlier. What do you do when you find yourself in a funk? Is this the music?
Let the music play. Yes, music and nature.
Yes.
I'm surrounded by nature. I've got a monkey repository, greenery all around me. The ocean is a kilometer away, the hummingbirds and the deer and my grandchildren. It's all about connection. Where can I plug in that I can feel connected? And the forest is an enormous one. The trees are talking to you all the time. The ocean, the way it kisses the shore, the wind. We had wonderful winds yesterday and howling all the way through the night. And I find that clears away the cobwebs. And so, yeah, being in nature and the rhythm of nature and the music of nature. So whether you're listening to music or listening to nature, is let it flow.
I interviewed a gentleman who wires up plants and trees and things and plays them so you can hear the music. That nature is just so delicious. It really is. And because we're not attuned to it,
No.
our bandwidth of what we can hear and see is so microscopic compared to what is actually out there, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, there was a beautiful poster of birds on phone lines, and there were multiple phone lines. And somebody did musical notes as according
Yes,
to where
I
they
saw
were.
that.
And it's like, yeah, nature is constantly in rhythm. If you have an animal, especially a dog, they're incredibly rhythmic creatures. They're talking to your heart and soul all the time, all the time. And they speak volumes. So we've got to get out of our arrogance because it's ignorant. And we've got to trust those instincts and that connection because it speaks to us all the time. And water is a wonderful conduit.
Oh, have you come across Vida Austin?
Vida Austin, no.
No, she works with crystallology. She crystallizes water, and it's a huge extension to what's his name?
Emotos.
That's it. Thank you.
Yes, I actually interviewed his assistant and he carried on the work after he died. So I've interviewed him a few times on water
I
and how
think
it's
you've
measured.
been intrigued by Vida because she
Mm,
talks as water as a conscious entity, and
absolutely.
and it talks to us with the messages. It's absolutely phenomenal.
And we are 70% water, folks.
99.9% of every cell in our body is water.
Is water, yeah. And the thing is that frequency and energy runs through every single speck of us, and we are all made out of the universal matter. And
Yeah.
so every single thing and us and living and everything has an energy signature. And when you open up to that energy signature, you will connect. And if you don't connect, you're not meant to connect. So it's, again, opening up your soul to be able to download so you can plug in and connect.
Well, we have soul signature song,
Yes.
and I
Yes.
just see it as, all those notes. And what we're doing is trying to find an environment that actually creates the melody and
Yes. Exactly. Make the music, find the rhythm. And like when you're with someone like we have today, where we're riding the same wave, we haven't gone linear. We've danced all over the place. We've been a rhythm and an orchestra and a band and everything, a chorus all the way along. And that's the beauty of life. People say, how long are your shows? And I don't do headliners like you don't. These are conversations over a period of time, and you're either going to be immersed in it or you're not. But they're not for the people looking for a quick fix or a quick download. They're for the people that are hungry to absorb and to learn, right?
yes,
Listen, learn, and apply.
depth of conversation, isn't it?
Yes.
That's what I find scrumptious. So, if
Yes.
I was your fairy godmother and could grant you one wish in the world, what would it be and why?
You know, I wish everybody to have a higher consciousness.
Mm, mm.
Because when you're in that higher consciousness, you cannot knowingly do harm to anyone else. To do so is to do harm to yourself.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, it's been an absolute delight to have you alongside, and pearls of wisdom, as I expected, and just a delicious flowing conversation. So thank you so much for contributing today, Sara.
No, thank you. And I look forward to you being on mine. I find out all about your why and your journey.
Fantastic. Thank you for your time, Sara. Much appreciated.
No, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Bless you.
Doesn't Sara's vibrancy just shine through? She epitomizes the joy of serving others in a way that lights up her soul, and her legacy lives on in a library of inspirational stories she's collected to help humanity. I just want to remind you about my guest last month, Amy McCauley, who shared her journey through bulimia, alcoholism, depression and cancer, as she's hosting a special event in Auckland on the 9th of August. I'll put a link in the show notes where you can get some tickets. On a more somber note, I learned that a past guest, Gary Cook, who I referenced in this interview for his extraordinary work with plants, has transitioned to his new life. I've put a link to the episode to honour his life also in the show notes. And last but not least, a wee plug for myself, because the Alchemise Your Sovereignty mentoring package that I put together has had some amazing feedback, and I just want to give you a couple of snippets. Philippa makes it easy to look at yourself and keep things real. I'm loving the connection with her and excited for my future. Philippa helps relocate the bits of ourselves we've pushed aside. She guides reignition, the primary importance of knowing who you really are and working towards. Her level of support is outstanding. Again, there's a link in the show notes where you can find all the details about the package itself. Don't forget to share this episode, and if you've enjoyed the pearls of wisdom you've heard today, please let me know by writing a review, as they're always appreciated. As are any ideas for subjects or guests you'd like me to consider in the future. Just email me on info@philippaross.com with your suggestions. So until next month, have fun, dig deep, open your mind to a world of possibilities, live life with a generous heart, and take steps to minimize waste and maximize your own potential.